Hey guys, welcome back. This is Cody Tuchek and Alex Reed here with a case for pace, doing a year in review of all 30 teams, and we are on to the New York Knicks,
Knickerbockers.
The Knickerbockers.
Mm.
No, this is the team that I grew up around, and
Lucky you.
yeah, we're talking about early 2000s Knicks. Oh yeah, I'm so lucky, aren't I?
Oh yeah, Isaiah Thomas just did wonders for you guys.
God.
Too soon? Is it too soon to
No,
bring that
not
up?
at all, man.
I think it's still too soon. They're still recovering from that.
They've been recovering ever since the 99
Bernard
finals.
King.
99 finals.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. This team is just. It's interesting, man. I mean, part of me really loved that those teams back then with Melo, Stoudemire, Tyson Chandler.
That's something going for them.
That was interesting. That was an interesting team because you had Shumpert, J.R. Smith, you had who's the I think Jason Kidd was the point guard for one of those years.
They were the other team outside.
And Raymond Felton.
They were the other team outside of Indiana, in Chicago that were really the contender.
I really did think so too.
To give Miami a run for their money.
Absolutely. I was really excited about that team. They were good enough. They were a good enough team, and they always under-delivered.
They did.
Really poorly. I mean, that was just too bad.
That Hibbert block on Carmelo changed the fate of that franchise.
Golly, man.
If you recall of that. I believe
what was that play exactly?
Okay.
Just so our viewers can...
This was, I believe it was, let me think. It's a Game 5 or Game 6 of the 2013 NBA playoffs. It's the semifinals.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, I do remember firmly. It was actually Game 5.
Yeah.
Or it may have been, it was Game 6.
Yeah.
That's my bad, because I remember now because the Knicks were the 2 seed, Indiana was the 3 seed, and it was in Indiana, and if it was a Game 5, it would have been in New York.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, I remember it was about maybe 3 minutes left in the game.
Yeah.
The momentum swinging heavily in the Knicks' hands, and everybody knew if this is going back to the Garden,
they're not losing in the Garden.
The Knicks are not going to lose to the Pacers in the Garden.
No.
And Hibbert literally stuffs Carmelo, and there goes their season. The momentum totally changes.
Yeah. And then they won that series.
Indiana won 4-2.
Yeah. That was big, man. I tell you, because the Knicks really were the favorite in the East. They were one of the favorites. They had the best, I'd say the best roster, at least the best starting lineup.
Would you put it past them that they may have had a better chance of beating Miami other than Indiana?
Maybe. I mean, it's hard to tell. I mean, we're going into revisionist history at this point.
Yeah, that's kind of hard.
It's kind of hard to say because I just don't know how they matched up that season. It's all about matchups. At the end of the day, everything's about matchups. So you have to match up well.
Then again,
with the team
postseason's a whole nother monster, though.
Well, but I mean, you look at what worked in the regular season and what didn't, and then you try to your first 3 or 4 games in the game plan. You go through and you look at I shouldn't say 3 or 4. The first 2 games of that series, when you go through the game plan, you go with the game plan that won you the game in the regular season. Definitely. And then you make adjustments there. You get tweaks. Who's hot, who's not, and that's how that works. So those statistics change in the playoffs. Obviously, dead legs. You got different players are hot, different players are cold. Who's injured, who's not. You put all these things together.
I think they were actually one of the oldest teams in the league. If you think about it, I think the average age on the team was about 28.
But Jason Kidd was there, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, so he was 39.
Melo was
at that point.
Melo was almost 30. They had Tyson Chandler.
Melo was 28, 27, 28.
They had an aging Amari Stoudemire. And they had a bunch of other older pieces. They had Aaron Aflalo, I'm pretty sure.
Part of me always thought that Indiana was too young. You know what I'm saying? Like, Paul George wasn't developed enough to really take on the challenge of playing LeBron. But would somebody like Carmelo Anthony, who's been seasoned for 7-8 years, would he have done a better job? Does that first shot happen? You go through all these factors and things, and
it's hard to tell.
Again, mainly because the revisionist history.
Mainly because
wrong.
Mainly because the defense isn't there from Carmelo.
Yeah,
it's definitely not on the same level as Paul George.
That's a different Carmelo Anthony that year. It's not the Carmelo Anthony that we
leading
knew.
Scorer.
Well, no, I think he was just behind Durant.
Wasn't that 20, the year?
Wasn't that the year that Durant had 32 per game?
That may have been 2014, actually.
Was that? Okay. Well, I'm just trying to remember, because what year did that happen? Was that 2013?
That block happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 2013.
Okay.
In the conference semis.
Yeah. So, okay, I'm a year off, maybe. But, yeah, I think he was the scoring champion, and J.R. Smith was the sixth man of the year that year.
Yeah.
On that team. They had Raymond Felton coming off the bench. They had, who else was there? Let's see. I'm trying to remember who else was on that team from back then. They had good, I think,
Chris Copeland.
Chris Copeland was there. Dude, that was still in good Cope time.
He was averaging 9 points a game off the bench, if I recall.
Well, his 3-point shooting percentage
was ridiculous.
Good. Yeah, it was really good. And then, Kurt Thomas was the guy. Kurt Thomas was coming off the bench back then, I think. So he was on that. He was on the Knicks, and he was just another veteran body. He was also like 40 that year, I think. But yeah, I mean, they had a lot of veteran talent. They had a lot of guys that had been there and had played a lot of games. So I feel like that would have maybe changed the complexion of that series, because the Pacers were a really young team that year.
Yeah.
Pacers were really young. I mean, besides David West, they didn't really have another go-to young piece that they just didn't quite have it. And George Hill, he was going to lose his matchup with Chalmers most of the time, and
I think for the Knicks after
didn't
that
really
point,
have another two guard.
The Knicks after that point just completely
derailed them. That was the high point of the Knicks.
Age hit them, and trades hit them, and injuries hit them.
I don't know if it was so much those things. I'd say it was more of, the Knicks happen. You know what I'm saying?
Classic upset Knicks.
It's just classic Knicks. Yeah. And they fall apart. The entire complexion of the team falls apart. The next season, Carmelo Anthony goes into free agency. He almost chooses the Bulls. Like, think about it. When somebody's sitting there offering you $40 million less, and you have to second guess it, when you're offered $124 million from the Knicks, and in over a 5-year span, and the Bulls come in with a 4-year $88 million, I think, 88, something like that, and you have to second guess it, that means that your situation must really be bad. Like, your situation must really be bad for you to leave $40 million on the table, want to leave $40 million on the table to go and play for a Bulls team for a shorter contract for less money by about, again, $40 million, and you lose a year on your contract. You're going to be, 33? You're going to be making a lot less money with that.
I remember listening on a documentary and a couple commentaries on Carmelo. It's really unfortunate what's happened with his NBA career.
He's had really bad luck, hasn't he?
He really has, because he's not just in high school, but in college. He was a winner.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was a winner.
Absolutely.
And then he comes to the NBA. He's with a scrub Denver team.
Yeah.
And
once they get Chauncey Billups, once Chauncey came there, weren't they half decent?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were half decent for a couple of those years, but most of the time in Denver, he was on bad teams, Denver teams.
They also had Allen Iverson at one point, I recall.
2008, wasn't it?
I believe so.
I think it was 2008, yeah. So, I mean, he's played around good players. Allen Iverson was he was a winner, but the teams that he played for weren't winners, you know what I'm saying? But then he goes to New York. It's a big deal. It was, I think, Wilson Chandler and Danilo Gallinari came over in that deal.
And what I'd say is more surprising than him leaving for New York?
What?
Is the fact that Denver actually still had a good year the year after.
I think they were better because of it. Again, when you get the guys like Wilson Chandler and
JaVale.
No, they didn't get JaVale.
Yeah, they did. Not next year.
Not in that trade. Oh, I'm talking about in that trade. They didn't get him in that trade. I think they got Danilo Gallinari in that trade. They got Wilson Chandler. and a couple of draft picks. Then they get Ty Lawson in the draft that year, I think, too. So all of a sudden, Denver gets 3 starters out of it, and New York gets 1, and they cleared out most of their team to get him. And then they trade. I think they go and trade for Stoudemire too. So I think they clear out pretty much all of their bench to get these 2 starters.
It just seems like a typical New York thing to do.
It really does.
Just clear out, really good role players, really good starters, for these superstars. These not superstars. That's the point I was about to make. Aging superstars.
I beat you to the punch there. I'm sorry.
I
know you were dying to say that.
I really was.
But
and this is the consequence with it. It's the same thing that happened with Brooklyn, essentially. Brooklyn actually had a half-decent team. When they had KG that one year and they had Joe Johnson, that was not a bad team.
Very good team.
They went to 7 with Toronto in the playoffs.
They beat
Toronto.
They upset Toronto. It was a big upset because
it was a 4 or 5. No, it was a 4 or 5.
I thought they were the 3-6. No, it's a 4 or 5. It's not a very big.
It just seems like a pretty typical Knicks thing.
It's just a Knicks thing. Like I've just come to expect this.
Overpaid players. They're just going to age out.
And it's funny. This is the result of this, and I'm just, part of me is really confused about their mindset here because I'm not a big fan. I always thought that Phil Jackson's system worked because he had the right pieces.
Yeah.
It was a bit like what's his name? 7 Seconds or Less. Well, who is the main coach in Phoenix who did that?
Main coach in Phoenix.
Head coach, yeah. It was
he was also coach of the Knicks at one point.
Yeah, he went and coached
he also coached
Mike D'Antoni. Sorry, I was thinking of Mike D'Antoni. Mike D'Antoni looked like a genius when he had the right system, but he looked like an idiot when it went wrong.
AKA the Knicks.
AKA Phil Jackson's career. Like, again, it wasn't just like Pat Riley, where you had a whole slew of different things, and then you end up with the same result every single place that you go.
Well, here's the thing.
Pat Riley had success. Even with the Knicks, who honestly did not know what success was until, since Bernard King and Dave DeBusschere and, Willie Reed, all Willis Reed, I think, all the way back in the 70s and the 80s, they didn't know what winning really was. If you think about
that team historically since the 1990s when they had an extremely good team, the one thing that's actually made them have a winning season or, actually a contender in the playoffs is they actually focused around defense.
Yeah, they were great defensively.
Every time
Pat Riley was the guy who brought that defense.
Pat Riley's defense was really good.
And he brought that same thing everywhere that he went. But I felt like Phil Jackson, he ran the triangle, which was smart. It was smart, but you had to run it with the right team. So he went and got hired by the Bulls, who didn't need triangle to win. Let's just be honest. They didn't really need triangle to win 6 championships because their bigs weren't good enough. Their bigs were not good enough to run the triangle offense.
No.
So it was a modified triangle offense that focused a lot around their guards. But then he went to the Lakers. You had Shaq and somebody else. Somebody would set a screen for Shaq, and then Shaq would dunk on somebody.
You had a lot of in and out there.
Well, yeah, but, they still didn't win a lot of championships. For as long of a run as Phil Jackson had there, they only won 4 championships out of 10 years or something like that. That's not very good. Again, looking at the
especially for a team that should have been at least a 5 or a 6 championship dynasty.
They could have been. Yeah, they really could have been. Now there were other factors that went into that, but they always had the roster good enough for that. And now he goes to the Knicks. And I don't think he's done any better than he did here. Honestly, I don't think he's done anything since he's been here. He drafted Porzingis, which I still think is the most gutsy one. Now, everybody's been freaking out. You have to look at his stats, okay? His stats are the real telling thing. He's shooting 42% as a big, as a guy who's 7'3".
It's disgraceful.
240. Shooting 33% from 3. 84 from the line, which is very good. He's only scoring 14 points and 7 rebounds, 2 blocks a game. But he's got 2 turnovers a game. and he's only playing 28 minutes a game.
Yeah.
Those are pretty good numbers per 28 minutes. His efficiency rating is 16. So he's pretty good. But again, I still feel
needs
like
to play in the post more, obviously.
The biggest thing is, well, no, maybe not. I don't think so.
I mean, his jump shot is really smooth. To be honest, how many times have we heard, this comparison to, he's the next Dirk. At this point, I guess we'll see next year. But I'm starting to believe a little bit of it.
I don't know. I'm just not. Look, I'm one of those players that really needs a lot of convincing. 2 or 3 years down the line, I'll be like, okay, this kid's got something.
It's kind of the same with you with Miles Turner and Patrick Ewing.
It's quite the opposite. Because I was one of the first people that said, yo, this kid Miles Turner deserves Rookie of the Year. With the way that he was playing back in January, when he was scoring
on an
25,
actually good team.
That team was fantastic. And, this was part of, me always kind of, having a little knack for competition with the Pacers. Even I had to say, okay, the Pacers are absolutely fantastic with Miles Turner scoring like that. He's got so much potential, and he showed so much. He showed so much toughness. I haven't seen that from Porzingis. I haven't seen the competitive edge. I haven't seen that fire. Like Miles Turner turned that switch on. Like he had a really tough last month.
To be honest, he's probably the reason they actually made a playoff push in the first place.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I'd absolutely agree with that. But what's the cost for New York? Carmelo Anthony has had to sacrifice a lot for Porzingis to be out there.
And we all know that Carmelo is probably not the type of guy that wants to be a second option either.
He's too good.
Exactly.
He doesn't
even want the thought of competition in his mind.
No, I don't mind competition. Let's just get that out the way. Competition is what makes people great.
Yeah.
Let's just let that down on the line. Is that when Jordan and Pippen were staying after having free throw contests, first one to miss, buys the other dinner or whatever, they went off and they hit 20 straight free throws in a row. Like, because that competitive edge, they stayed after hours after practice doing little shooting drills or dunk-offs after practice. And that kind of competition, it fueled the rest of the team. The rest of the team was sitting there competing with these guys. It brought them up to the next level. And you have to have a competitive mindset to go in and attack the other team. You have to have a competitive mindset. I don't know how hard Porzingis is. Like, I don't know how hard he wants to win. I just have to see it. Like, I have to see those dominant numbers. Like, Dirk Nowitzki has a fire and a passion about the way he plays basketball. He's a winner.
Why do you think he's still playing today? At what age? 30?
He's gonna be in top 5 scoring when it's all said and done. He's gonna be a top 5 scorer. He's 37 now, I think.
Was he at right? Is he at 8 or 7?
I think he's 7th, maybe. No, I think he's 8th because he's still behind Shaq.
Think about that for
Shaq is 7th.
Think about that for an international player
who started off his first 2 seasons was probably scoring
international
5.
Player.
But
international. My bad.
But for his first couple seasons, he was only averaging 5 or 10.
Yeah, I know he wasn't that great.
He was awful in his first couple years. Then all of a sudden, he scored 25 a game, 30. So they're in elite status. He was shooting 40% from 3. He had a shot that could not be guarded. I just have to see that from Porzingis before I can say, okay, this kid is good. This kid's the future of New York.
Well,
until I see that,
it took Dirk about 2 or 3 years to really get up to, from Milwaukee in the draft. Yeah, I know.
He got traded. People didn't think he was going to be good. That's why he got traded in the first place. New York knew that, okay, Porzingis has some talent here, so we're not going to trade him. But we don't know how much he's got. We don't know, and especially if they ever add any physicality back into this game, he's just going to get destroyed.
I mean,
he's not a great defender.
I did just see a post about him saying that he's going to be adding about close to 15 pounds of muscle this summer.
That's good. He needs to get up to that.
He needs to get up to that.
But that's good. That's what I want to hear. I want to hear more of that. I'm going to be in the gym all summer shooting free throws. I'm going to be in the gym all summer shooting jump shots. I'm going to be in the gym all summer working on my post moves. That's what I want to hear out of these kids. That's what I want to hear. That's the fire that I want to see from these people. I want to see him go in there, add 15 pounds of muscle, and develop a little, get himself up to about 45% shooting. And if you add about 3% each year,
well, that's the thing.
That's shooting percentage.
That's the thing that's disappointing for me. Is just like this guy is 6'3" playing the
7'3".
My bad. 7'3" playing the power forward position.
Mm-hmm.
Is shooting 42% from the field.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Roy Hibbert-esque right there.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, again, kid still has a lot to learn, but for the rest of this team, at least, that's just about all you got.
Yeah.
Really? I mean, let's just go through. Aaron Aflalo, I know you don't like him, but I like Aaron Aflalo.
I never said I didn't like him.
I thought you did.
I just always thought he's been overrated.
Oh well, no, I think he's always been correctly rated. He's always a defensive player. He had to start in Orlando.
D3 guy.
Well, he's one of those D3 guys, but he had a little bit more dominance in his game. He rattled off a great run against. You remember that run that he went on against the Pacers, where he scored like 10 or 12 in a row, something like that. That's the Aaron Aflalo that we can see, and that's the Aaron Aflalo I enjoyed watching in Orlando, and part of that made me an Orlando fan. Lou Amundsen, he's still in the league.
Yeah, I know, right?
Oh God, man.
Some of these names are just.
Thanasis Antetokounmpo, he's probably still going to be in the D League. He's Giannis Antetokounmpo's older brother. And well, I mean, that's not saying much. He could still be 23, 24, because Giannis is so young. Carmelo Anthony, obviously we know what he can do. Jose Calderon, he's an interesting guy. He led the league for 3 or 4 straight years in assist-to-turnover ratio. Like something like 4 or 5 to 1. I mean, it was ridiculously good. It was very, very good. He was fantastic, and he was shot above 40%. Let's see. I want to actually count because for the last 4 seasons he shot above 40%.
Wow.
Yeah, averaging probably 42% in those last 4 years combined. It's fantastic. Doesn't turn the ball over. He's a very low risk point guard. Then you got Cleanthony Early. He's not great. I mean, he's a smart guy. He went to Wichita State, but and he played in some of those really good teams, those Wichita State teams. So I mean, he maybe has some potential. He needs some more work in the D League. But Langston Galloway, I could see a future for Langston Galloway.
Yeah, I can too.
I liked the way that he was playing, and he plays some good defense. Let's see. This was the kid from, where was it? It was St. Joseph, but it's Pennsylvania, because there's a St. Joe, New York, and then a St. John too.
Here's my issue with the Knicks.